Good morning and welcome to the Daily Bible Podcast. My name is William Hemsworth. Thank you so much for joining me today. Well, we're rapidly approaching the end of chapter 4 of the Gospel of Matthew. We're actually going to finish up chapter 4 tomorrow and move into chapter 5, which is a very critical passage. We have the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, all those things that we've heard so much about. But today we're going to read Matthew chapter 4, verse 23, which is one of those verses that has more than meets the eye in it. So here it is, Matthew chapter 4, verse 23, which says, Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom and curing every disease and every sickness among the people. So Jesus traveled throughout Galilee, teaching the good news in the synagogues, healing the sick. Very important things. The synagogue was more than a place where people went on the Sabbath to worship. Yes, that was a huge part of it, but it was like a community center of sorts. It's where people went for school. It was a court, especially in the rural areas. The synagogue was a symbol of the people's relationship with God. Within the synagogue was what's called the seat of Moses, where the presider had the authority to teach the law. And as we read later on in there, in the gospel, especially in Luke, we have Jesus reading from the scroll of Isaiah, and we see this in Luke 4:21, which means that he was eligible to speak in the synagogue, which is a very critical thing that sometimes we don't catch on. So he was recognized as a rabbi of sorts already at this time. He belonged to the community of the synagogue because when he visited Nazareth, he was scheduled to read from Isaiah. And he may have read the Torah as well, but we're not sure about that. The scripture doesn't say that. But that's an awesome example of God's preparation, because the passage that Jesus read was exactly the passage that he used to explain his ministry. So the synagogue was a very important aspect of Jewish religious and community life. So he's not only saying that he's not only establishing his kingship, if you will, but he's also saying that, hey, I am one of you. I think that's very critical. And he goes throughout the area healing and teaching. I think this is also something we don't pick up on a lot. Teaching involves communicating the nature and purpose of God's kingdom. And we're going to see this in the coming chapters, especially with the Sermon on the Mount. Preaching is proclaiming the good news that God's kingdom is near. And healing, as well as teaching and preaching, are all signs that God's kingdom has come. So I think if anything, we see in today's passage that Jesus is doing all these things. He's establishing himself as part of the community. He's establishing his kingship by healing, by teaching, by preaching among the people. And great crowds are coming to him because some are starting to realize that, oh my goodness, the Messiah is here. And the Messiah is here today. We're waiting for his second coming. We wait in great preparation for his second coming. We wait in joyful anticipation for his second coming. And we know from the scriptures and from history that his kingdom has been established and that he is the Messiah. Have we accepted that fact, though? Well, God bless you guys. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Daily Bible Podcast. And like I said, tomorrow we'll finish up chapter 4 in the Gospel of Matthew. Thank you very much for joining me. And as always, if you enjoyed the episode, please share it. Please go on iTunes and rate it. Please recommend it. I enjoy doing these shows. And thank you for listening and giving me the opportunity just to go over the scriptures verse by verse. I know it's helping me, and I hope it's helping you as well. God bless you. Thank you so much for joining me.